In 1972, Uganda's leader forced more than 50,000 people to leave overnight. Yet today, some Ugandans still call him a hero. How can one man be remembered as both a liberator and a monster? This is the story of Idi Amin, one of history's most feared rulers. For 8 years, his name sent shockwaves far beyond Africa, making headlines worldwide and striking fear both inside Uganda and abroad. He expelled entire communities, waged war against his neighbors, and filled his nation with fear. But there's another side that rarely gets told. Many still see him as a nationalist who fought to return wealth and dignity to his people. At The Lost Chapter, we dive into the untold stories, and we'll let you decide what legacy remains. If you love learning about the parts of history you were never taught, hit subscribe right now, because forgotten history makes unforgettable stories. We want to be clear. Our goal here is not to glorify or demonize, it's to present the whole picture. We'll show the brutal realities of Amin's rule, but also the reasons some still admire him. You, the viewer, should decide for yourself. Was Idi Amin a hero, a villain, or something in between? Idi Amin was born around 1925 in the Koboko district of northwestern Uganda. His early life is vague, with few records. Some accounts suggest he had little schooling and worked odd jobs before joining the British colonial army. What is certain is his physical stature and loyalty caught the eye of British officers. By the 1940s, he was serving in the King's African Rifles. He fought in Burma during World War II and later in the brutal Mau Mau uprising in Kenya. As Uganda approached independence in 1962, Amin had risen to one of the highest-ranking African officers in the army. Charismatic, physically imposing, and ambitious, he became a powerful figure in the young nation. But military glory wasn't enough. Behind the scenes, Amin clashed with President Milton Obote, who began to see him as both useful and dangerous. In January 1971, while Obote was abroad, Amin staged a coup. Soldiers flooded Kampala, tanks rolled into the streets, and by the end of the day, Idi Amin was Uganda's new leader. But in those first months, many Ugandans welcomed the change. At first, Amin was celebrated. He released political prisoners, promised democracy, and presented himself as a man of the people. Crowds cheered him in Kampala. He danced in public, played the accordion, and enjoyed mingling with ordinary citizens. His humor and theatrics made him a favorite of foreign media. He gave himself outlandish titles, among them Conqueror of the British Empire in Africa in general, and Uganda in particular, and the most famous one, the Last King of Scotland, a nickname that later inspired an Oscar-winning film. To Western audiences, he was outrageous but entertaining. To many Ugandans, he was a break from Obote's authoritarian rule. But behind the theatrics, some already suspected that Amin's charisma masked a more dangerous side. Even the British government initially supported him, sending aid and military advisors. Israel trained his paratroopers, and Amin was photographed smiling with foreign dignitaries. And then there were the rumors. Amin allegedly once sent a telegram to Queen Elizabeth, proposing marriage. He joked about cannibalism, claiming he ate human flesh to intimidate opponents. Whether true or not, it shocked foreign journalists and fascinated Ugandans who relished his audacity. But beneath the charm, his rule was turning darker. By late 1971, the new president began consolidating power. Amin distrusted anyone who might challenge him. His secret police, the State Research Bureau, became infamous. Opponents vanished, bodies were found in rivers, and rumors of torture spread rapidly. Historians estimate that between 100,000 and 500,000 Ugandans died during his reign, though exact numbers are impossible to know. Political rivals, journalists, and even army officers were targeted. Ethnic divisions deepened, as Amin favored soldiers from his own Kakwa and Nubian backgrounds while purging others. One of the most shocking cases was the death of Archbishop Janani Luwum in 1977. Officially, he died in a car crash, but eyewitnesses and survivors claimed he was murdered on Amin's orders after criticizing his rule. To this day, many Ugandans see Luwum as a martyr and his suspicious death as one of Amin's darkest moments. Even Amin's personal life became scandal. One of his wives, Kay Amin, died mysteriously in 1974. Official reports called it a botched medical procedure, but others whispered she was killed after an affair. Her death only fueled Amin's image as a ruthless man who let no one, not even family, defy him. And then came the decision that would define his legacy worldwide. Before we go further, let's pause for a moment. None of this is meant to excuse Amin's actions. The killings, the disappearances, and the atmosphere of fear were real and devastating. But to understand why his name is still debated today, we have to look at both the horrors and the reasons some people still defend him. History is complicated, and Amin's story is one of the most complicated of all. In August 1972, Amin announced that all Asians in Uganda, roughly 50,000 people, most of Indian descent, had 90 days to leave. He accused them of hoarding wealth, exploiting Africans, and refusing to integrate. To his supporters, this was economic liberation. Asians controlled an estimated 90% of Uganda's businesses and trade. Amin argued that their departure would give Africans a chance to own shops, farms, and industries. He handed over businesses, homes, and factories to Ugandan citizens. But in practice, the results were catastrophic. Factories closed, food supplies dwindled, and the economy collapsed. Many new owners lacked the training or capital to run what they had been given. Inflation soared, and Uganda's once thriving economy fell apart. Yet the expulsion remains controversial. Some Ugandans still believe Amin was right to put wealth back into African hands, even if the plan failed in execution. Others view it as the moment Uganda began its steep decline. Meanwhile, Amin's international image was shifting from comic strongman to feared dictator. As criticism mounted, Amin doubled down on spectacle. He sent bizarre telegrams to world leaders, offered asylum to rebels, and even invited Palestinians to train in Uganda. His relationship with Israel turned particularly sour. In the early 1970s, he broke ties and aligned himself with Palestinian militants. By 1976, Uganda became the stage for one of the world's most dramatic hostage crises, the hijacking of an Air France plane to Entebbe. Israeli commandos staged a daring night raid, freeing nearly all the hostages and killing Amin's men. The raid humiliated Amin internationally, but at home, some saw his defiance as proof of his anti-colonial spirit. And here's where history loops in strange ways. Decades earlier, in 1903, the British government had proposed what became known as the Uganda Plan, a scheme to offer land in East Africa as a possible Jewish homeland. Zionist leaders debated it, but ultimately rejected the idea. Instead, the State of Israel was created in 1948 in the Levant. So when Amin clashed with Israel in the 1970s, some critics and historians couldn't help but note the irony. Uganda, once floated as a potential Jewish homeland, became one of the fiercest critics of Israel under Amin. Eventually, his reckless ambitions crossed a line no neighbor would ignore. In late 1978, Amin ordered an invasion of Tanzania's Kagera region. He claimed it was Ugandan land, but the attack backfired. Tanzania, under President Julius Nyerere, launched a full counterattack. Joined by Ugandan exiles, they marched on Kampala. By April 1979, Amin's rule was collapsing. He fled the country as Tanzanian troops and Ugandan rebels entered the capital. Ordinary citizens celebrated his downfall in the streets. He first found refuge in Libya, under Muammar Gaddafi's protection, and later settled in Saudi Arabia. There he lived quietly until his death in August 2003. But even exile wasn't without whispers. Rumors claimed Amin had smuggled millions of dollars out of Uganda, hidden in secret accounts. Some said Saudi Arabia offered him asylum on the condition that he stayed silent politically. Stories circulated of him living in luxury in Jeddah, while Uganda remained scarred by poverty. But even in exile, his legacy refused to die. Ask one person about Idi Amin and you'll hear mass murderer. Ask another and they'll call him Big Daddy. To critics, he was a tyrant whose brutality destroyed Uganda. To supporters, he was a nationalist who defied imperialism, gave Ugandans access to wealth, and restored African pride. Even today, his image appears on bumper stickers and minibuses in Kampala. For some, he represents strength and independence. For others, tragedy and ruin. Historians argue over whether his motivations were sincere or opportunistic. Was he truly trying to empower Africans, or was it simply a mask for greed and paranoia? What can't be denied is that his rule left scars that still shape Uganda today. And the scandals, from bizarre cannibal jokes to rumored hidden millions, keep his story alive in rumor, gossip, and speculation. Idi Amin was feared, mocked, admired, and hated. sometimes all at once. He remains one of history's most complicated figures. So here's the question. Was he a liberator who stood against colonial exploitation, or a ruthless dictator who destroyed his nation? Or is the truth somewhere in between? Can the truth be both? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you want more untold stories of power, ambition, and forgotten history, don't forget to subscribe, because forgotten history makes unforgettable stories.